Hey everyone, and welcome back to the United Star. I'm Atanu Vadwa, and I am joined by none other than Mr. Andy Slater, who is the editor of the Balmy article, which is the first Warsaw fanzine. So people might think, what's a fanzine? So Andy, care to join us and tell the viewer something about the fanzine?
Yeah, so great to be on again. And yeah, a fanzine the two words together, fanzine. It's a magazine made by fans for fans. So it's not professional journalism. It's not high flying, printing millions and selling them in shops. It's getting a few fans together, getting us to create some content, what people want to hear, what people want to read, get some fan opinions and print them in a fanzine. We print 200. We sell them online and we sell them outside the ground. So yeah, it's very local, it's very intimate. It's fans writing their opinion down in more than the 240 characters that Twitter allows and putting it out there for other fans to see and read.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic thing. And I was fascinated by this idea of a fanzine, and then I got to know Andy a bit through All for United WSC and MUWSC. So I thought, okay, let's have him back on the channel again. Last time he was here, issue one was out and issue two was going to be out. Now issue two has been released, and the pages of Bami article issue three are gradually filling up. So Andy, tell the viewers something about issue two, but not everything. So let's tease them a bit.
Yeah, it, issue one was kind of a what can we do, what can we get together, and not a lot of people knew about it. But with issue two, I won't say we were established, but there was more awareness, and I think we got a lot more real content for issue two, which was I was very pleased with it. It was 4 pages longer, so we're on 20 pages now. And yeah, I've got a copy here to remind myself. So we had a different person designing the front cover. It was Heather Designs on Twitter. She does some wallpapers for the supporters club, and she designed the front cover, which actually got a like on Twitter from Hannah Blundell. She saw the picture of the cover and liked that. But I think the main feature that I was proud of in issue two is an interview with an ex-player. Now, some might say, well, which one is it? Is it one of the original 21? Is it one of the current players that are recently left? And it's actually a player that played for United Ladies, as they were known, from 1997 to 2004. So when the team were far from professional, she talks about how the women's team were viewed at that time. It was more of a community project rather than a football team they wanted to support. They were they were stuck wearing hand-me-down men's kits because they didn't have their own provided, but they just loved pulling on a United shirt and representing United on a football pitch. They loved football. They didn't get paid. They played because they loved playing. They loved United, and they got the chance to represent the club and put that shirt on. And the, there were some frustrations that came from her in that the whole marketing around 2018 and the brand new Man United team and the first ever 21 players and the first ever manager. The club weren't formed in 2018; they were reformed. They were disbanded in 2005 and reformed in 2018. And what I really loved about speaking to Michelle was that it was a celebration of the history. We were proud of the history of the men's team, and it was good to celebrate the history of the women's team. It's not as glamorous, but that's part of the charm of it in a sense as well. And she went on with she had a great career coaching football. She's still involved with United in various ways, coaching kids in the community. Uh, she went on the first team tour to the United States a few years ago. Uh, getting involved in communities where United were playing, traveling around America with them. Uh, she's done a lot in football. She's very knowledgeable about football. She's a mentor for football coaches, and it's great to celebrate that avenue that people can go down. Women in particular, young girls that have now got a football team they can aspire to play for. But if they don't make it, it's not all over. You can still be involved in football, and it's a great story to read what she's achieved within the game, even though her playing days were cut short, and it was all back behind the scenes and coaching. So I'm really proud of that article, and I'm really happy to get her story out there, especially to celebrate the history of the women's team before 2018.
Yeah, Andy, just listening to the gist that you gave is like very refreshing, because sometimes myself as a fan, I tend to use the word formed, which I shouldn't be using, because we were reformed and not formed. And we all are proud of our history, of the history of our men's team. We all are. But what I want people to realize, what I want fans to realize, is that there is a history of women's team as well. We were reformed in 2018, but there is a history back in the back in the early 1990s and the late 1990s. So guys, if you really want to talk, if you really want to learn more about the history of our women's team, just not go to the Wikipedia page. Go to the website that is mentioned in the link in the description below. Buy the issue 2. Read the issue 2, and if you have something that you want to contribute, if there is something that you want to talk about, get in touch with Andy. I'll add his Twitter account in the description as well. So Andy, how excited are you for issue 3?
I'm increasingly excited. You used similar words that I tweeted out, saying the pages of issue 3 are filling up, but there's still time to get involved. There isn't really time to get involved in issue 3 now, because a week or two ago I was thinking, am I going to have enough content? I need somebody else to contribute. I need something to put in. But now I'm kind of cutting people short and saying, maybe you could do that one on the next issue. And it's filled up pretty quickly, which is brilliant. But I don't want to hold people back. I want to include everybody that wants to be included. So yeah, issue 3 is pretty much full now. I might be able to fit something in if somebody's got something they want to contribute. But yeah, we're looking good for content for issue 3 now, and I think that's part of the excitement each time. The not knowing issue to issue whether you're going to get enough content, what we're going to put in. I'm running out of ideas. What can I do? And then you'll speak to somebody and they'll say, yeah, I'd love to do it. And then suddenly you've got pages full. So it's an exciting process. It's kind of daunting every single time, but it's exciting when it all comes together and you can see it taking shape. So yeah, I'm very excited that we look like we've got a full fanzine now for issue 3. I could probably go to 24 pages on this one and still be able to fill it the way things are going. But we won't be doing that. We will be keeping it at 20 pages, because going bigger would mean upping the price, and I don't want to do that in the first season. We'll review that when we finish a season. But that's how much content we're getting, which is great to see, because that was the biggest worry. So as it's taking shape, and I've actually got my wife bought me a little booklet like this, and it's got, if you can see that, it's got 20 pages, 20 little squares to plan the pages. So that's what I'm using. So I'm filling it up, I'm scribbling down what I'm going to put in and where, and then I'm rejigging it and moving it about. And it's an exciting process, and it's always great to look forward to when people can read it and see the reaction to it.
That thing that you showed, it's a really good way to be organized. And on the cover as well, there's the cover page of issue 1, I think.
Yeah, it is. That's it's close to the title, the cover of issue 1.
Okay, yeah. So it might be inspiring. Some days you're like, okay, I am not getting the content, but then you look at the title, look at the schedule that you've made, and you're like, okay, let's give it another try. Let's give it another day.
And I hadn't thought of anything like that, but it was a gift from my wife. She saw what I was doing and she thought this could work for him, and it is. It's good to be able to write it down and visualize it. So that was a very welcome gift, and it's doing the job. It's helping me to organize and piece things together.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to stay organized as well. So Andy, one last question that I had in my mind: Mark Skinner, how are you liking the Manchester United, the rejuvenated Manchester United under Mr. Mark Skinner?
I think there's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. I think the negative comes in the nature of the defeat to Chelsea. If we'd have lost 2-1 in that game, then you might be thinking we weren't far away. We've beat teams that we failed to beat last season. In the second half of last season, we were dropping points against teams we really should have been beating, and we seem to be getting over that now. In the league, at least, we're beating the teams that we should be beating. Durham gave us a tough game. There was a bit of change in personnel. There were some players getting minutes that hadn't got many minutes, and it was players that we want to see in the team, but that in that game in particular, a tough game to come into, because Durham are a tough team and they're a hard-working team, and you've got to be full of energy to compete with them. I'm excited by the prospect of us beating teams that we should. That's something that if you're not beating the teams you should, you're not going to get in the Champions League. Against City, when they went down to 10, it was, you think we're against 10 for an hour. We've got a real chance, and then within 3 minutes they score a goal. That's kind of typical of United, and that's the kind of thing that you want to see stamped out of the team.
I think we tend to make it hard for ourselves to make it like, we are in a challenge.
And that's been the history of United as far as I can remember. Always under Fergie, it was about, we'd make it difficult and then come back and win. I think the fight that we showed in that 5-10 minute spell where we went from 1 down to 2-1 up, I thought that was brilliant. The attitude we showed, I think a big difference was Lucy Staniforth. I think she's a real driver for the team. I'd like to see more of her, but ideally you want her in that front of the midfield, number 10 kind of role, and that's what Ella Toon's playing, and you can't drop Ella Toon at the minute. I think I'm excited by what we're doing. I think it was disappointing to let them score again very quickly after we'd gone 2-1 up, and it's those silly errors, those kind of going to sleep that is frustrating. And the same against Durham. Their 2 goals were set pieces. It was set pieces that we should have defended better against. If we defend well on those 2 set pieces, we've beat a tough team 2-0 with well-worked goals. So that the performance wasn't inspiring, but the fight that we showed in the general play, we won the game in general play. We were just, as we have done before, letting silly goals from set pieces. And that's the worry, but it's something that can be stamped out. It shows that we are hopefully on the right track. You stamp out these silly errors, and you've got a 2-0 win against Durham. You don't go to sleep against City. You're playing against 10 men, and you should be able to control the game better and hopefully step up from that and start getting 3 points instead of 1. The Chelsea game, a bit of an anomaly. Chelsea are the best team in the league. You could say Arsenal this season, but as a consistency kind of thing over several seasons, Chelsea have got the deepest squad. They've got the best quality. They could put out, they could change half the players and still have world-class players in the team. We're a long way from that. We're a young team still, but I can see some positives. I can see some belief that if Skinner can stamp his style on United, I can see it working out. I can see us getting improving and challenging.
Yeah, I think we have seen like improvement because considering that we lost a lot of players in the transfer window, like a lot of players left because of the contracts, because the contracts were over. I think considering that and the amount of players that we've brought in, we have a good squad. I'm not going to deny that, but there are some places where Mark Skinner needs to, recruit more players. So it has to be like, for me, the attacking line isn't like, when we talk of the squad depth in the forward line, there isn't a lot of depth, and that's really worrying because injuries. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but that's what happens at United. We have a good form, and then injuries come, and that's what happened last season as well. So I'm really scared about that. But I agree that go on, Andy.
I think with the squad, if you look at the midfield, we could play 2 different midfields. We've got 3 players in midfield if you include the number 10 role in that. I want to see Hayley Ladd as defensive midfielder, and then I'd be happy with any 2 from Ella Toon, Staniforth, Bilda Boarisa, Jackie Groenen, and Katie Zellum. Zellem has struggled a bit for the last year or so. But even lately, I think she showed a bit more fight, which is what she was good at. She could pass well and she could get stuck in. So midfield, I think we're golden. I think we've got a very good, strong midfield. But then, like you say, up front, Russo, it still feels like she's coming back from injury, but she's getting better all the time. Fuso, she looked positive against Durham. She scored a goal, and then she gets injured. It's not what you need. If we could keep Russo, Fuso, and Martha Thomas fit, you've got a good three to pick from for that lone striker role. But Martha Thomas is injured. Fuso got injured again. I don't know if that's how long that's going to be. I don't know if it's a quick recovery, but to go down under no challenge is worrying. And in defence, Millie Turner's injured. So we couldn't rotate our central defence against Durham because we didn't have any other defenders to pick. So I think, as you say, the depth in midfield is brilliant, but the depth up front and in defence, it isn't there. And that's, who's going to cover the wings if Hansen or Leah Galton get injured? You're going to end up sticking Ella Toon out there. So that is the big worry. If we can keep players fit, we'll be okay. But we definitely need to strengthen those areas as soon as we can.
And hopefully in the January window, Mark has some, tricks up his sleeves and he gets some players. And I'm hoping that happens. And maybe, just maybe, like this is a thought in my mind. Maybe we get some players who are, playing in the NWSL on a 6-month loan deal or something. I mean, yes, it's a bit far-fetched, but yeah, I like to think that way because I think we have a chance of getting into the top 3 this time. And hopefully, like in the next game, I think the next game is against Tottenham Hotspur away game. It's a game in which the winner will get into the top 3 for how longer it will be. But Andy, will you be there for the fanzine, or at the next home game you'll be there?
I think I'm going to be at Spurs away. It depends on some childcare organisations at home, but if that can be sorted, then I'll be there. If I don't make it to that one, I'll be going to the Everton away game the week after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not expecting to have the fanzine ready for that one. I'll be selling, all going well, I'll be selling issue 3 at the next derby game. So City at home in the Conti Cup, which is on Wednesday the 17th. So that's when I expect to be selling issue 3 in person for the first time. But yeah, I'm hoping to get to Spurs. If I don't get to Spurs, I'll get to Everton. And at those, I'll be taking issue 1 and 2 with me because I went to Birmingham away and took some of issues 1 and 2, and I sold a few there because there are still people that aren't on Twitter won't know about it. So that's the key thing about getting out there in person and at the stadium, which that's the history of fanzines for me. The oldest men's fanzine is Red News, which was created in 1987. It's nearly as old as me. And I remember from watching United, always hearing new Red News out today or Red issue out today. And that's fanzines for me. It's in person at the ground. In the women's game, we're a lot more spread out. There are fewer people at the ground. There's a lot of people spread around the country and around the world. So I need Twitter, I need online sales, but selling it in person that was a thrill. That first time, it was daunting, but it was a thrill, and getting there in front of people and handing it over physically into the hand.
It must feel nice, right? Giving it to them personally.
Yeah, sometimes you get people who've seen it on Twitter and come over. They're looking out for you. They know you're going to be there. They're saving £1 postage, so they're getting it for £1.50 instead of £2.50 because there's no PayPal fees when you hand it over in person or postage fees. And other people are walking along, and some people think it's a program. Sometimes they're disappointed when they find out it's not. Sometimes they're surprised and pleased to say, fanzine, I didn't know there was one. And there was actually at Birmingham away, there was a Birmingham women's fan who supports United men. And he bought one off me because he supports United men. So he knew about fanzines, and he bought one off me about United women, despite being a Birmingham women's home supporter that day. So it's good to get it out there, and hopefully some other clubs will follow suit. Hopefully there'll be fans of other clubs that see it and think, why can't my club have that? And the answer is they can. Somebody's just got to step up and do it.
Yeah, maybe they get inspired from Mr. Andy Slater and get their own fanzine.
hopefully, and if there are fans of any other clubs watching that think it might be something they do, I'd be delighted to share advice and talk about it, because it's a great part of football culture, and I'd love for it to spread through the women's game a bit more.
Yeah, definitely, Andy. And you mentioned the match day program. Andy, you yourself have been featured in the match day program. The fanzine has been featured in the match day program. How proud and how happy were you when you got to know that?
That was great to see. The first game that I sold the fanzine at, one of the guys that came and bought it was the editor of the match day program. So we had a little chat, and I looked up his contact details and emailed him for some feedback, and he agreed, because clubs have got to be careful. Fanzines are supposed to be independent so that we can say what we want. Now, some fanzines in the men's game are a bit close to the bone and will criticise. We're happy to criticise as long as it's constructive. I won't censor anybody other than keeping it family friendly, and any criticism's got to be constructive. If you want to say something negative about the club, go for it, as long as it's constructive. And it's important to keep independence from the club for that purpose, so that the club can't tell you, can't print that, you don't want you talking like this. So it was great that he was able to do that and not endorse us, because it would be a risky game for them to endorse us, but to feature it and show that it exists was a great feeling. Seeing the column in that program was great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the editor, but I am feeling very happy that the Bami article was featured in the matchday program. And maybe it's a way for the fans who aren't on Twitter and who won't be able to see you from across the road go
Yeah.
into the stadium and get the matchday program and see, okay, there's a fanzine. Why not contact you? And maybe you'll sell some fanzines to those fans as well.
Absolutely, and it's also people that might see some random fan selling a fanzine and thinking, who is he? Why would I buy that off him? Could be anybody. So getting that little bit of recognition in the printed program by a program editor who's read it is, it might make some people think it might be worth a look. Because if I saw some random fan who I didn't know selling a fanzine, I might think, who are they though? What makes them eligible to put a fanzine together that I should pay for? And that's an understandable reservation. But the fact that this program editor has read it and printed something about it is a big boost, and hopefully we'll get us seen by people and recognised a little bit more. And we've also had a recent article in FAWSL Full-Time magazine. So Dan from that magazine, that's an online magazine, and it's online, but they also do some print versions as well, which you can subscribe to. And he's done an article about it, little Q&A with me to talk about what it is and why it came about. So if you go on FAWSL Full-Time website and filter to the United stories, then you'll see a story on there about it where I'm answering questions about it. And that was good to get involved in that as well and get it out there again in a different place, and something, a relatively established women's football magazine.
Sky's the limit for the Bami article right now.
Yeah, hopefully let's try and reach it.
Yeah. So, as Andy is the editor of the Bami article, and he's a good friend as well. So I would like to, promote it as well. And from my side, from the United Stars side, and fans of the United team or any other team that really want to read the fanzine, there's a link in the description below. First link is the Andy is the Twitter account link of Andy. You can contact him if you have any queries. The second link is the website from where you can get your fanzine. There are 2 issues right now. The third issue will be coming soon, and stay updated on Twitter and keep a look on Andy's profile if you really want to know when the issue 3 will be out. But until then, there are 2 issues. Get your issue 1 and issue 2. Read it. There's some interactive puzzles and drawing areas as well. And Andy, before you leave, have some players also seen the fanzine, like they know the fanzine exists?
Yeah, it's quite an informal way so far. Actually, I might have it to hand. I will. Here we go. No, it's not that one. I apologise. One copy of issue 2, which I can't find right now. But it's there are some pictures on my Twitter feed where the picture on the back of Onabacha, she signed it. So after the City game, I hung around for a bit as she was leaving. I got her to sign it. She noticed it was a picture of her and commented, and I gave her a copy. And then these little collectible cutout cards. So I'm not aware that any football cards exist for women's football. It's a quite historical thing in men's football and in sport in general. So Namrata has created these. So it's front and back. It's got a picture of a player on the front and a little section of the player's song on the back. So you can cut that out and you can collect the cards of the 2 in each issue. And in issue 2, there's Leah Galton, and she signed hers in my copy, and Kirsty Hansen, who has also signed that page in this copy. So in that particular copy, which that's kind of going to be my master copy that I'll be saving one of each issue, all I need is to get Hannah Blundell to sign the front cover, and then that'll be a complete souvenir for that issue.
It has to be played in a special box or framed on the wall. So
yeah, well, hopefully I'll have dozens of them around the room showing the evolution of the fanzine. But yeah, I also gave a copy to Millie Turner that day as well. So yeah, if any of the players could tweet about it, that'd be a huge boost as well. I'd love to get that kind of boost of promotion.
Fingers crossed, Andy. Hopefully one day.
First they've got to read it, then they've got to like it, and then hopefully somebody will just a brief mention would be nice.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Andy, for coming on the channel again. It's always been a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully very soon the Bami article will be in the hands of Atanu Wadhwa as well.
Absolutely. Just let me know when you're ready, and issue 3 comes. There'll be a set of 3 to send over.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Andy. Is there something you want to talk about, or is there some parting notes that you want to give to the fans?
I think just to say, if you're an international buyer and you want to read the fanzine, get in touch rather than going online and trying to order it, because especially if you're buying multiple copies, because the postage will change a bit, and I'll check on the postage individually and make sure it gets sent the most efficient way possible. And yeah, keep supporting the team. It's kind of a strange time. There are some kind of perceived negatives at the minute with the 6-1 against Chelsea, not beating City with 10 players and then failing to beat Durham. But that's football support, and it's great to, after the Chelsea game, the way the fans reacted. Our team had just been beat 6-1, came over to us and got nothing but applause. And it's great to feel that connection to a team. And I think other clubs might feel it as well, but I feel like we are kind of a different breed in a sense as United fans. And it's not in an arrogant way, but I think that support is more unconditional than some others. And it's great to feel that. So keep doing that and enjoy it. No matter what happens with the results, enjoy the football.
Yeah. In the words of Mark Skinner, we are the Red Wave, and we keep supporting United, whatever happens.
We do.
So thank you so much, Andy, for coming on the channel again. It's been a pleasure hosting you. And guys, if you really want to read the fanzine, go to the link, contact Andy if there are any queries, if there's something you want to talk about, and if you are willing to contribute to the future issues, contact Andy as well. Contact Andy again and talk to him. And click on the link. Click on the Big Cartel link. I think the Big Cartel website is there, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Click on the link. Buy issue 1, buy issue 2, pay the fee, enjoy, read about the history of our women's team as well. Be proud of the women's team as well. And until then, subscribe to our channel. We are the United Star, and we'll see you next time.